Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number two. Number two already. Man, we are rolling of social selling for newbies. Um, Hello, Alex. Hello, Brandon. Carson will be here with us momentarily, I'm sure. And anybody who's listening, please chime in. Let us know where you are, what you're doing, or where you're at. Um, so we have a special guest today, Alex Lowe. Um, Alex is joining us from London, so he's staying up late for us as well. And yeah, why don't we start? Alex, tell us a little bit about you and your background, and then we can kind of jump into what we're going to talk about today, which is the evolution of social selling, where it's been, what we've learned, and where we think it's going.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brandon. Lovely to be on the show. Yeah, it's 8:30 p.m. here in London, so keeping me away from my supper, but I won't hold that against you. So me, what do? I hang out on LinkedIn, and I talk about why sales organizations, in fact, all employees, but sales and marketing organizations, why they should be baking LinkedIn and social selling behaviors, digital selling behaviors, whatever we're going to call it today, into their overall go-to-market. So this isn't this ridiculous conversation of an and/or conversation. It's not one thing or the other. This is part of everything that you do in terms of how you go to market. It's dictated by your audience. It's dictated by your sales cycles. It's dictated by a number of things. But me, I'm sales through and through. So ex-real estate for 2 years in London, then 5 years in recruitment. Hi, Candice. Then Big Four consulting, then law firm. Towards the end of my tenure at my law firm, LinkedIn came and sold the dream of sales navigator into social selling, which kind of started me on this journey. So I've been on that platform since year dot. Then JLL, where I led, according to LinkedIn, the first ever social selling program globally in the commercial real estate sector, where we did 500,000 net new and did a pipeline of 4.9 million. It is still on their website if you want to go and validate that as a case study. Then I spent 5 years as an independent consultant, where I met some brilliant minds such as Tim Hughes, Adam Gray, Brandon. Our paths crossed there. The likes of Richard Vanderblom. So there's a lot of us out there talking about all of this. But part of that meant I built relationships with Microsoft, and so Microsoft would bring me into some of their clients around if they're deploying CRM and sales nav and social selling, which then led me to my journey with PA consulting, where I am now, and supporting us on, an internal sales enablement journey underpinned by social selling behaviors, digital selling, sales nav, dynamics, etc., but also still going to market as a salesperson, but starting to move more into the world of data. And it's interesting in terms of direction of travel that LinkedIn is going with data and starting to open up Pandora's box a little bit, maybe, who knows, through the sales nav tool. But that's me. I just want to help people get the best out of what is an amazing platform.
No, that sounds. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, and for everybody, I didn't disappoint. I said the best part is Alex got a really cool accent, and that's why he joined us today. Because he's good looking. He has an accent. I mean, we were just trying to improve our ratings.
Well, and Carson has a really cool accent, and he's here now. So
I was going to say, I know you're talking about me, good looking and an accent. It's definitely not me.
Your timing was perfect, right? That was your entry was perfect at that point.
There you go. Yeah, I'm one of those. I'm still a very much a practitioner in the field, and so sorry to jump in a little bit late, but so awesome to be with everyone.
You mean you have a job? You have other things you need to do other than be here talking to us? Come on.
No, I try to build everything around this time.
Right. I understood. Yes. So, Carson, Alex just introduced himself. He's our guest today, live from London. Quite a background with social selling, done a lot of work with LinkedIn Navigator, Microsoft, as you. And so one of the, we wanted to talk a bit about today about, the evolution of social selling.
I can't do it.
For those of you listening, everyone's comparing their Microsoft logos. So
yeah, I drive a British car, if that helps. I do have an Aston Martin.
It depends what model, Carson. It depends what model.
It's a DB7. So
okay, that's British. I don't think that's owned by the Chinese. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah. What are we doing here? What are we talking about today? So
talking about
we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution. Sorry, go ahead, Carson. Didn't mean to.
No, just saying the wonderful things we bought with sales commissions. If you master social selling, you can buy nice British cars.
Yeah, we should probably bring up like pictures or whatever. In fact, I think in a week or two we're going to talk about, why social selling or social selling by the numbers. So that'd be a good time to show some of these. So, Alex, how long ago did you kind of jump into this whole area of social selling, and when did you discover it, and what caused you to go have that aha moment that goes, man, this is something that is a game changer?
I'm gonna have to look at my LinkedIn profile to actually look at the dates, because that's the problem with someone in their early 40s with two small children. Your brain goes to mush. So it would have been end of 2013, beginning of 2014, when Jack Hanratty came in from LinkedIn Sales Solutions to sell this new thing that was Sales Navigator. And I forced myself into the meeting going, this is absolute BS. You don't need to pay for LinkedIn. If you know how to use LinkedIn properly, you can get a lot out of it for free. And actually what was the penny dropping moment was TeamLink, because then that started to unlock the relationships that we didn't know we had through LinkedIn. And that was then the aha moment around, oh my God, because LinkedIn is the most up-to-date CRM system on the planet. I work for a law firm where CRM systems just weren't used, so a bunch of attorneys. So that then started to flip my mindset from how was I using LinkedIn as a sales tool, but kind of for myself, rather than actually now we're starting to access data through a different manner. And that's all Sales Navigator is really, is that it's just giving you more access to data. And let's be clear, you don't need Sales Navigator to engage in the behaviors of social selling. It makes it a damn sight easier. But that's when I flipped the switch in my head around, now here is a platform and the direction of travel that LinkedIn is starting to go. This now starts to make more sense as how you can bring more of your, in my case, attorneys, but in other organizations, salespeople, along that journey of actually, I describe it now as it's finding the shortest route to a conversation. That's all this is. It's finding the shortest route to a sales conversation, or a conversation which then turns into an opportunity, which then turns into pipeline, which then turns into win.
So I like what you said about, kind of a super CRM, right? It becomes a super CRM that you can mine. And Carson, does that about when you started, about the same time, or how does your journey align with Alex's?
That sounds right. It's ironic. I was at a small consultant firm before coming to Microsoft, and that was really the challenge, right? Was getting these executive meetings. And I've always just looked at, whatever problem it is and trying to be very resourceful to say, okay, well, my target audience is out on LinkedIn, so let me go out and create those relationships. I love that Alex also pointed out that there's a lot of value with just even leveraging LinkedIn as a platform itself to go out and create that relationship. I don't need Sales Navigator to do that, but I'm not going to discriminate against Sales Navigator as a tool, because it also lets me go in and target by geography and all these other things. But I used it to get meetings. And I did the exact same thing when I came to Microsoft. And I've joked with you guys, it was kind of an anomaly. People looked at it like, oh, well, Carson's out prospecting on LinkedIn, whatever that means. And then once you started to get the results, because that's all salespeople care about, they care about results. But as I started to have this deal, that deal, these multi-million-dollar deals that wouldn't have existed without LinkedIn getting me that first meeting, that's when it all went gangbusters for me. And over the years, now it's 16 deals for over $200 million that wouldn't have existed without LinkedIn opening the door to allow me to do all the sales fundamentals. That's what's key. So yeah, started about the same time. Alex, we had an epiphany at the same time, I guess.
We did indeed.
It sounds like you need to put a LinkedIn logo on that Aston Martin, right? Because it's
a good idea. Get a sticker, get some swag.
Some LinkedIn swag, yeah.
So Brandon, are you That's about good. In the same timeline as I know I'm not. So
yeah, no, I'm a little later, and I came at it differently. So I owned a company, and I sold a company in 2010, and started another company, failed by 2013. In 2013, 2014, I went all in on inbound marketing with HubSpot, right? It was kind of this new cool thing. And as I was doing that and learning, and created a little agency that we were serving customers, I got to the point where I realized that so much of what we were doing from social marketing side was absolute waste of time. And my sales background came in, and sorry for those, I speak in hyperbole. It wasn't a complete waste of time, but a lot of it was a waste of time. But the sales guy in me kept looking at this going, I feel like we collectively made a big mistake here. We've given social to the marketers who know how to talk at people, and we've completely ignored the sales reps who know how to build rapport and relationships, because they've been door knocking and cold calling and taking people out to lunch and dinner and things for years. And they know that it's not first about the deal, it's first about the rapport and the connection. And this LinkedIn tool seems like a really good way to do that. So it was about 2016, moving into 2017, that I started to look at LinkedIn differently just for me, and realized pretty quickly that, all this networking, all this, I built so much of my career around the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So much of that activity I could actually do more efficiently in this thing called LinkedIn, and even Instagram at the time, than the cold calling, the cold emails, the email cadences, the landing pages, and all the other stuff that I was doing. So it was about 2016, 2017, and then really started trying to own my own activity in 2018. And that's when I started getting more people asking me like, well, what exactly do you do? And I'm like, well, I got all these Excel spreadsheets that lead me in my daily cadences. And it kind of came from there.
Wow. Yeah. So it all sounds like, all of you, and I've certainly have learned this in my short time, because I've started really kind of immersing myself in LinkedIn more like in May. So it's been about 6 months or 8 months for me. But I think that we've all seen the common denominator, right? Is the efficiency of building the relationships that exist. I mean, the fact that we're all here is a perfect, example of that, right? We would not be here having this conversation without LinkedIn. And I think it really, really shows you how effective and efficient, as Candace says, it can really become. So, Alex, what would you say, over the last 6, 7, 8 years, what are the lessons, maybe pick a couple of lessons that you've learned for the positive, and then also for the negative, things that you wish you would have known when you started, and what are some things that you wish everybody knew when they started using social selling and LinkedIn?
I think the biggest thing that everyone has to realize, and this is whether you're a solopreneur or you're a Microsoft and everybody in between, is that this is about changing people's habits, mindsets, and behaviors. And the biggest experience I've had is shifting the perception of salespeople, attorneys, accountants, realtors, whoever it might be, this perception they have of LinkedIn, based on LinkedIn is just a cesspool full of recruitment consultants, and none of my clients are on there. Everybody knows who I am. It's a waste of time. There's no point doing it. To what it is, even back in like 13, 14, but what it is today is now a fundamentally different platform. And you then got to reframe that thinking. And then it's around, what is my purpose? What is the intention? What's the outcome I want to achieve by being on here? Because if you don't have that, then it's not going to work for you. So anybody that follows me on LinkedIn, 90% of what I do, there is intent behind it. I'm trying to get someone's attention. I'm trying to get myself in terms of the conversation around sales transformation and everything related, or I want to get myself in front of a group of people at an organization. So there's real purpose in terms of what I'm trying to do. The great thing is, for some people, this can be a light bulb moment straight away and you get an immediate win. But for others, it can take 6 months before anything happens in terms of a win. And whilst there is a framework, if you will, it's pretty basic: your brand, your network, content. Every single account, every single seller, every single situation is unique. And you have to understand that you can't take the sheep dip approach with your sales teams and expect them to go and do, because people are on a different spectrum of fear, not buying into it. So find that 10% that you can move a little bit further along, and that is then when you start to get the get the wins. The other aspect is that make sure you make it real for them. So you have to talk in their language. You have to use the exact customer personas or people that they're going to talk to. Because if you don't, you'll lose them. They go, well, that's not relevant for me because I don't talk to that person. And then the other aspect, which is through what Microsoft, Salesforce, and LinkedIn are now doing, getting to the point, does this actually work? I.e., can you attribute data to money? And because we've got the full sync on with Dynamics, LinkedIn can now give us quarterly reports or half-year reports, and we can now prove that social selling behaviors through Sales Navigator and LinkedIn have influenced in excess of hundreds of millions of dollars of opportunity and closed won revenue. So we're not saying it's because of, but it has influenced, Carson's earlier point, the other sales behaviors that need to happen. We're now starting to get to the point where we're actually getting some metrics to prove this. But again, you don't need a CRM system to do this. Whenever anyone asks, well, is social selling working? The fundamental reason you know it's working, so when I was an independent consultant, was invoices were going out the door. Because that's the simple way. Invoices are going out the door. Clients are flying me around the world. So my biggest law firm client was flying me around the world for 2 years when one could do that. All generated through social and inbound and this. And that, I don't care about views. I don't care about the metrics anymore. I really, really don't. If I can change one person's perception to think differently, if I can create one more net new conversation with someone who's going to buy what I do, then it's working. All the other peripheral stuff is a nice byproduct that you're out there and you get invited to come and do things like this. You get invited to go on podcasts that helps amplify the voice. But you need to focus on that one person that you want to target when you're thinking about social as a channel, and the rest will follow. But don't try and boil the ocean, because you'll never succeed.
Yeah, that makes, and I want to jump in more about that data part, and the attribution or the influence that you were talking about in a minute. But Carson, is that similar to what you've seen? I mean, I know you've trained a lot of people in Microsoft and you continue to train people. Is that what you've seen in terms of, there's different people, different fear factors, different mindsets as you go along? And what have you learned along that way?
Well, I think a lot of people understand the value or think they do when they read the statistics around social selling, right? I think a lot of people understand the value, but they don't know where to start. They don't know exactly what to utilize. And, I can definitely sing the praises of LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, but the reality is social selling is utilizing every single resource that might empower you to create relationships or to stay top of mind with clients and to serve them better. That's really what it's all about, right? So biggest lessons for me was, being resourceful to solve problems. It could be marketing leads that I was getting and how I was leveraging those to inform my decisions of who I was reaching out to and how I was finding ways to scale, creating webinars and newsletters to stay top of mind. Instead of reaching out to a customer once a year, now they hear from me every couple of weeks through some channel. It could be a newsletter, it could be a webinar. We're inviting them to build a community around what you do. Don't discriminate against any path to open a door, and be focused on what you're actually seeking. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to create a relationship that I wouldn't or didn't have. That's it. What happens from there is the beauty. That's the poetry. The other thing is it's not important to be perfect. It's just important that you're doing it. It's all about probability and odds. A warm referral, a warm handoff, a recommendation to say, hey, you need to work with Tom, you need to work with Brandon, you need to work with Alex. That's the golden rule, right? But we can't always get that. So if we can use this to broker a conversation that we wouldn't have had otherwise, that's the poetry. And finding ways to do that, I've evolved my messaging and my methods 1,000 times over the last decade. I've evolved a lot. I've learned a lot. I've made mistakes. It's not perfect. But I think that's the key, is that we keep looking to perfect that, because it's all about people and process. And then the last key learning for me has been around the impact to personal brand. I had a very distinct career pre-Microsoft that had nothing to do, didn't look anything like what I do now. And the way that social selling has transformed my brand, what I've been known, how I've become known for it, and the impact that it's had in the relationships it's created has just expanded my mind tenfold on what's possible. I never would have fathomed being able to sit amongst, people like you of this caliber, having this type of a conversation, before all of this came about. So those have been my key learnings.
He's talking about you and Brandon, you and Alex when he says that.
I think he's talking about Alex,
yeah.
but
I'd like to pick up on Carson's point about the being perfect, because sometimes when people use, well, I need marketing's permission to do it, or I need it to look really, good to be out there. And actually, you don't, because for the most part, people want to know what's in your head, and that's what they care about, which can be a statement. But it also doesn't have to be content. So back to that purpose bit, I've now got a story here where through a single comment on the CEO's post of Nestle led to a conversation with the global R&D lead at Nestle, because she saw the comment on his post, which then off the back of that, I threw a Hail Mary and sent a connection request to the CEO of Nestle, so the biggest food company on the planet, saying, we had a really good meeting with your colleague about this. It'd be great to connect. Can I connect you so I can connect you to our CEO? And he accepted my connection request. Now, this doesn't happen every single time, but it's like when people say, well, you'll never win the lottery. Well, if you don't buy a ticket, then you've got no chance of winning the lottery. But if you buy a ticket, I've got a better chance than you. And that's where a single well-placed comment with intention, or a well-placed like, or any piece of content or what have you, that is like buying multiple lottery tickets. And some of them will come into, I saw that, I read that, I now want to learn more. Someone recommended that that we get in touch. And the whole aspect of, there are so few people on LinkedIn that actually engage in conversation and post. And back to the metrics piece, the amount of people I have that say to me, Alex, I really enjoy your Friday videos, or I saw that article, and I know they've never liked it, they've never commented it, because you see what's happening. It's like, fine, it's working. It genuinely is working, and they will be ready to have a conversation with you when they're ready to have a conversation with you. But I'm not relying purely on inbound, because I'm also trying to, back to my earlier point, and that's the advantage of things like Sales Navigator, does help you find that shortest route to a conversation, which, if it can be a referral, hey, Brandon, you're connected to the CEO of that organization. How well do you know them? Oh, pretty well, actually. Fine. Can you introduce me, and here's why? That's not social selling. That's just using the network effect to create a conversation. And that's where organizations, from 1,000 employees, but certainly 5,000 employees of our size, to the Microsofts of the world, if you're deploying technology like Sales Navigator effectively, my view is that you use social selling I actually don't like the term social selling anymore, because too many people sell over social. That's your brand positioning piece. That's positioning me as a subject matter expert. But through the power of relationships, you should be able to get to any human being on the planet who would conceivably want to buy what you do, purely through the network effect.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is a common denominator from Alex, both you and Carson, is don't worry about trying to be perfect, right? Perfect gets in the way of actually productive and doing something. And, Brandon, I think you've definitely seen that in working with your funnel amplified clients and all of that stuff, is how important it is, right? Just to get started and not worry about, are you going to be absolutely perfect, or everything's in a perfect, all in alignment before you do anything.
Yeah, and I mean, yes. And what I like that I'd love to piggyback on that Alex and Carson is saying is that, social is a tool to build relationships and rapport. Carson says this all the time. He beats his drum over and over, and then I always echo it. Social isn't about selling. It's about building that rapport. As Carson says, I like to give and offer value. That what you say? Serve and give value.
There you go. You said it better than I could say it, Brandon.
Yeah, but the point is, sales has never been about outside of boiler rooms, and there are people that like that and they like to do that, and that's fine. But for the vast majority of us who actually have a human heart, we like to sell by connecting with people. Do you like that little dig in there?
I did.
Yeah, we like to, serve people and add value and connect. And so it's about, how do we use this tool called social that is very efficient, and I can connect with anybody, to do activities that help me create those relationships that turn into, I like to focus on, how do you earn that first phone call with a prospect, an ideal prospect? And can I use my behavior, my profile, my behavior in social media to influence that to happen faster? Well, absolutely. That's a strategy around it. It's not social selling, but we can do outreach tactics inside of social media that are effective. And it is, as both these guys have said, it's if you comment strategically, then your prospects see you in post. If you publish strategically, and as I think as Alex said, they just want to know what's in your head. You've got experience, you have thoughts, you talk to their competitors, you talk to other industries. What is it that you know? And when you share that, and for me, the social two-step, you're commenting strategically on the right post to be seen, and then you're commenting stuff from your experiences. And when you do that in a focused cadence, you can earn those first calls a lot quicker than doing this. And then the other thing is, when you do talk to them, they don't hate you because you've been doing this.
Yeah. And, it's again, I guess it's like you always say, Brandon, it's like if you were at a cocktail party or you're at a in-person engagement, right? You're not, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you think of every word you're going to come out of your mouth before you go introduce yourself to somebody. It's a similar concept here, and you look for the opportunity and you take it. So I think that's a big lesson learned from today. I can't believe
Can I throw this out real quick?
Yeah.
I had a vendor reach out to me, and we're in a conversation, and we're looking at buying some software. He just happened to be in Atlanta, and he reached out. He did a little bit of poking around on me, and he said, "Hey, I enjoy cigars too. Do you want to meet for a cigar?" I said, "Great." So I ended up meeting him last night, and we had a cigar, and he had a brandy, and I had a bourbon, and we hung out for about an hour and 20 minutes. You know how much of that time we talked about business?
An hour, 2 minutes.
Basically none of it. And he's got competitors that haven't reached out to me. He has competitors that haven't tried to be social with me in any way, shape, or form. Who do you think has the advantage? Right? This is what I want people to understand about social media, is you can do that same thing inside of social media. It just looks differently, but it's that rapport building activity that I think companies are just missing out on.
And it's a great example. I can't believe it. We're 27 minutes into this. I thought we were like 6 minutes into this. So I want to keep it.
I vote for we keep going.
Well, we can go a little longer. I know everyone's on a tight schedule, but I wanted to talk a little bit. And Alex, you brought up data, right? And kind of the future of social selling. And it sounds like with data and some least data to start, maybe not proving attribution, which is difficult, if not impossible to prove, but at least show that there is some influence. How do we see the role of data and, some of the more common things that we've always seen in the past with marketing, whether related to attribution or tracking and all of that? How do we see that? Or how do you guys, Carson and Alex and Brandon, how do you see that playing out over the next few months, years, and so forth?
I can take that first if we like. So I'm a big fan of Seth Bars and his writing from Forrester, and he talks about dynamic guided selling. And fundamentally, we are now in a world in B2B sales where we have access to the data that we need, some paid, some free, to make more informed and better decisions about who we should be having a conversation with when. The challenge with this, it comes back to behaviors, it comes back to trustness, it comes back to systems, process, technology, sales not talking to marketing, marketing not talking to sales. Everyone talks about being a client-centric organization. We're not. And we can have a whole separate conversation about why organizations aren't client-centric. But in this day and age, I appreciate this is harder for smaller solopreneurs because some of the cost barriers to entry to get access to this data is tricky. But you had a fascinating conversation with Kerry Cunningham from 6 Sense the other day about what they're doing. 6 Sense have just integrated with Outreach, and how it's all around signals and listening to multiple signals across multiple channels and then thinking about how do you then use that and interpret that in a way to go, oh, this is now the best course of action for me to do. But even at a very basic level, you see the direction of travel which Sales Navigator is finally going in within intent data. You still need the seller to look at that and then understand what is the next best thing that I now need to do. Back to Carson's point, subject to where I am in that sale, in the sales process, as it were. And too often, a lot of people just sit there and just go, "Okay, that's nice," and then go back to the day job, because they're not looking to understand why is that a trigger, and why should I be curious to learn more about that. So for me, it's going to become those organizations that can get their data governance in order, get their sales and marketing stacks singing together, but then it's the human behavior bit to go, I now know what to do next. Automation will have a part in this, but you still need the human piece. And I reflect on it's Fallon Patami, who founded Node, which got sold to Sugar CRM. Brilliant quote she said back in 15 is the science is only as good as the art of selling. And I truly truly believe in that. You can't take away the art of actual selling if it's in a human capacity.
Yeah, Carson, go back to our favorite movie, Moneyball. It seems like there's a real opportunity that as more and more data evolves, and if we're getting intent data or whatever, right, we're just getting more and more analytics that we can use. The danger, obviously, is somebody using it, like you said, Alex, either they ignore it or they see an intent signal or something and they figure that's a ticket to a pitch slap. But again, it's going back, I would say, Carson, to using it again intelligently, right? And how do you see the use of data, changing how you do things or improving how your team does things as we go forward here?
Well, you nailed it, Tom. I mean, I'm going to make another pop culture reference to Spider-Man. With great data comes great responsibility. If it's in the wrong hands, it's ineffective or it's dangerous. What pains me is seeing poor management mistranslate data as in, hey, we need to go sell more of these widgets, go do it. And no, it informs us perhaps where we might have greater propensity or greater probability to create momentum. It can show us where there might be gaps in our process. And a lot of times it's small tweaks to process that make a very dynamic impact to the result. And so that's where I think data helps us diagnose. That's really all it does. It can show me where I might want to gravitate my efforts. If I get marketing signals, there's so much credence to social listening. That's where I found the greatest success in social selling is I see things based on company reports or announcements or changes in executives. And I'm just very opportunistic and very resourceful. I'll see the opportunity to reach out and where I can add immediate value to somebody who's a new executive. And I just beat the competition to the punch. I think that's what data should be leveraged for is, showing us where there's propensity, showing us where we should be spending our time, reinforcing the message that we want to deliver to our teams and to, colleagues, et cetera. But I believe we've got to gravitate toward what gives us greater probability for success and things that can point me toward the relationships that I need to be creating.
Yeah, it's a bit of a flashlight, right, along the way.
Well said.
Brandon, did you want to add something to that?
No, keep going.
No,
I'm just along for the ride.
I'm taking a lot of notes, so this has been great. Well, I do want to respect the time here, and I know we could end up talking a lot about these things, and we will talk a lot about these things more in future episodes. I did wanted to do a shout out. First of all, Carson, your book, Salesman on Fire, if I'm not mistaken, is free on Amazon Kindle for the next few days.
It is.
So
free this week.
Free this week. I've grabbed my copy. I started reading last night. It's really actually cool the way it's put together. I highly recommend.
It's really actually cool, Carson.
It's really actually cool.
It was surprising.
I'm going to quote that Tom Burton said, really actually cool.
Boy, that's pretty bad, isn't it? Does that sort of imply that I didn't think it was going to be cool?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm going to add that to the cover. I like that.
Boy, this is a tough crowd. This is a really tough crowd.
It is a tough crowd.
So,
You
but
can see
anyway,
social selling has turned this into very authentic, genuine relationships where we can laugh and have fun with each other.
right. Well, I think you should really actually consider downloading the book from Amazon. How's that? From Kindle. So definitely want to shout out there. Also, if you haven't already, please follow our LinkedIn page. We're looking at getting the followers beefed up there so we can actually broadcast our show on that page. LinkedIn will let us do that. And if you haven't, also check out our podcast on Apple or wherever you go and leave a review. And we're trying to get more downloads because this is also on the podcast. Alex, tell us quickly where people can find out more about you and if they want to reach out and best way to reach you.
Well, if they haven't figured that out after the however long we've been on here, then they've got bigger problems.
Give everybody your TikTok account, Alex. Come on.
I mean, you can find me on all major social channels, including TikTok. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll happily chat to anybody about this. I'm here to help. But I think just start. That's the biggest thing, right? You don't need all the tech. Just start. Just get out there, start listening, see what everybody else is doing. You can't break it. It's a moment in time. Obviously, be sensible. Just start doing it, because you'll be if you are and your competitors aren't, you've already got an advantage.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Brandon, some final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I'll echo what Alex was saying there. And I learned that from Alex years ago. Alex didn't even know I was really watching and paying attention. And he has been saying for years, just start posting, just do it. And Carson talks a lot about, you don't have to be perfect. I think the biggest challenge for so many companies and then the employees, the team members, is fear. And for leaders, it's the fear they're going to say something wrong or say something stupid. It's like, look, are you fearful that your sales rep's going to get into a boardroom and do a presentation and say something stupid? No. Well, then why are you worried about them saying something stupid on LinkedIn? Right? We got to get over that fear and realize that this tool that's in front of us is really, really powerful. But just like everything else, we don't know how to do it perfectly the first day we start doing it. So start moving.
I guess that's why we're calling this the Newbies show, right? Social
The
selling
Newbie
for
show.
Newbies. So we move along. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody.
Alex, thank you, my friend, for jumping in and doing this with us. Really appreciate you staying up late and joining us and contributing to it. Thank you so much.
And you've got a new follower, Alex.
We become a connection, Carson. It's fine.
There you go. All right. Hey, there you go. All the better.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Have a good week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.